Hi, I'm Paweł Spychalski, and first of all, I would like to thank all my Patreon and YouTube supporters for their backing. If you're not one of them, then please consider becoming one for as little as $2 a month. And now today, let's try to answer a question. The question, what to choose? Which modern, by modern I really do mean modern, something that was announced and put on the market at least in the year 2020, modern long range or long range-ish, or rather maybe even middle range radio systems. Because in the year 2020 we had FlySky FRM302, about which we will talk in a moment. We had the ImmersionRC Ghost, which is very appealing to some people. We have the TBS Tracer, which one more time is very appealing to some people. And do you know that those three are not the only options? Because, for example, there is something called the SIYI FM30 that costs $50 and offers almost basically the same as any long-range system, plus the transparent serial link. So, which one to choose? FlySky TBS, ImmersionRC, or the SIYI thingy, which really is kinda promising technology. Let's begin with the TBS Tracer, the younger brother or sister of the TBS Crossfire, which is advertised as, well, the moon is the limit and you can easily go for 25 kilometers with the TBS Tracer. The great thing about the Tracer is that it's just another piece in the whole TBS environment, because it uses the same protocols to connect receivers to the flight controllers and tracer transmitter to your radio, because it also uses the CRSF protocols everywhere, which means that you do not have to develop a new firmware, new software for anything that you use to be able to use all the features of the Tracer. Because it's 2.4 GHz based on the modern RF chipset made by Semtech. It also means that it's fast, there is plenty of room to put the telemetry, to have all the features, and everything seems to be working just fine. On the first glance, the Tracer is the most mature and almost the best system of 2.4 GHz out there. However, there is a problem. The Tracer is not really a long-range system, although TBS at one point started to advertise it as the long range, saying that 25 kilometers. No, I mean, yes, in theory, the link budget on the Tracer allows this thing to go for 25 kilometers. In perfect conditions, with perfectly aligned antennas, no noise in the background, and really, if you put all the numbers into the calculator of the radio link range, you will notice that yes, the 25 kilometers is maximum theoretical limit. However, because we are working in the real-life environment, the practical range of the Tracer is highly limited, and I would say the practical, really like the safe range, is closer to, let's say, 4, maybe even 3 kilometers. After that, you really might be pushing the limit, and it's not as safe as other links that we will be talking about today. However, if you are not really planning for the long range and you really want the super low latency with the fully working telemetry and everything working almost out of the box, then yes, the Tracer is for you. Long range? Yeah, no, probably niet. No, but everything else definitely yes. The second option is the ImmersionRC Ghost, and in case of the Ghost is almost the opposite of what the TBS Tracer offers, because the Ghost can be used as the long-range 2.4 GHz radio system. Yes, when you put it in the long-range mode, it can go for kilometers, and they say 30, 10, maybe even more without absolutely any problems. And yes, if you put the numbers on what is offered by the radio chipset in the Ghost, you will see that 13 kilometers should be absolutely not a problem, and the maximum theoretical range should be counted in hundreds of the kilometers. However, theory versus the practice means something completely different, and my guesstimate is yes, Ghost is safe to use in the long range mode, not in the race mode or something like that, to let's say 20-25 kilometers, something that the Tracer rather definitely cannot really do. So yes, you can use the Ghost for the racing because you can switch to the pure race mode and have those 4 or even less milliseconds of the latency, or you can switch it to the long range and go like in one direction without having to worry about almost anything, and still having a very short 2.4 GHz antenna. However, the problem with the Ghost is that there is no full infrastructure for the Ghost. There is no telemetry, and this is really a bummer. Yes, with the latest OpenTX you can have a battery telemetry, and you can know how much of the battery juice you have left in your drone, so at least this is working. But to be able to use the telemetry, you have to have the GHST protocol support, which is only coming in the latest beta flight and the latest INAV and the latest EMU flight. It's not supported on any other platform, so you know, it's still developing. Maybe in a year or two, where everything will be in place, it will be ready to use out of the box. Right now, yes, long range, but without really full-blown telemetry yet, and this is a problem. However, I'm migrating to Ghost because I like what it can become, what not it is right now, what it can become, and but probably not really migrating to Tracer because I bought Tracer and then I sold Tracer. But enough of the Tracer, enough of the Ghost. Now let's talk about the third contender, which is the FlySky FRM302. The FlySky FRM302 probably is the most advanced hardware of the system we already discussed, because it has small receivers with the diversity, it has the standard transmitter module with a very nice and beefy power amplifier and with the cooling, so there is not a chance you will overheat your power amplifier and just kill your transmitter after having this running in the high output power mode. However, we come to the... however will be slightly later. And it also offers really a lot of range. The theoretical range of the FRM302 is probably much longer than the range of the Ghost, mainly because it has more power output. The Ghost ends up at 350 milliwatts, while the FRM302 at 1 watt, which is really quite a lot. It offers the same LoRa transmission, super resistance to any noise, can listen below noise floor, so the theoretical range of the FRM is really like hundreds of kilometers, with the practical range being closer to 50 or something like that. Not that anybody will really test it very often, but I've heard somewhere that they tested it at 50 kilometers, and that's fantastic. However, the problem with the FRM302 is that, well, the FlySky messed up with the marketing and advertisement on this thing, because the FlySky, I don't know, they had no budget, they had no idea how to do it or what to do with. They never really put much of the effort into telling everyone that it's out there. They just, okay, here's your FRM302, it's great, buy it. But people will not buy it without knowing what they really want this thing to do. So that's the problem number one. The problem number two is that they allowed all the features on the OpenTX radios only around Q3, Q4 of the 2020, with the unofficial, even back then, unofficial builds of the firmware for the FRM302, and only the OpenTX 2.3.10 knew how to talk to the FRM302 in the serial mode. And the telemetry, yes, on one hand there is a fully working telemetry, the iBus telemetry from FlySky, but then this is not really like as advanced as the telemetry of the Tracer, and yeah, the overall user experience of the FRM302 is that, well, meh, and there is definitely no wow factor because FlySky never really cared enough to tell people that they should buy the FlySky stuff. And from the three we just announced, last time I checked, the FRM302 plus the receivers were the most expensive option out there. So no marketing, no advertisement, nobody telling people that this is amazing and the most expensive hardware. My guesstimate is that, well, it's, I think, dead for them. Maybe we will learn something new, well, maybe something new will be over there, but unfortunately, it's not really the best option there. Has the potential, really already had the potential of becoming the next best thing in 2.4 GHz long-range radio system. Unfortunately, it didn't. The fourth option is probably something that you never really heard about. And this thing is called the SIYI, I have really no idea how to correctly pronounce that name, FM30, which one more time uses exactly the same technology as all the others, because even if TBS does not want to admit that they are using the same chipset, they are really using the same chipset. FM30. And they say it can work for up to 30 kilometers and has the Bluetooth. Kinda nice, right? Well, of course, if you have the usage for the Bluetooth. UART, S-Bus, PPM, and over-the-air updates. You can buy small receivers for this thing. And like I mentioned, nobody really talks about this much because they kinda go the same way as the FlySky went with it, and they never really put enough of the media coverage of this thing. However, this thing is very interesting. From the outside, it looks like meh, plastic, another radio module. However, I saw some pictures of how it's built inside because some of my colleagues from the INAV team got the samples of the SIYI FM30. I'm not one of them, unfortunately, but okay, I do not have to have everything. Looks like well made and well designed, and it has Bluetooth, so you can downlink the telemetry down to your smartphone, on laptop, or whatever you have over there. And it also has the serial pass-through, serial downlink, when you can put almost anything you want over there. And on top of that, it also can work with the Mavlink, in theory, at least in theory. However, in practice, well, it works, yes, people say that yes, it is working and it is over there. There are some problems with the firmware, however, if they really put enough of the effort into the problem, they can probably fix it. And even my fellow INAV colleague developers say that, yeah, okay, maybe we should help them because this really looks like an interesting hardware. I'm not, however, recommending this to any other person because it's not well proven, and although it has the potential, we have no idea if the potential will be really like met. However, if you would like to experiment with probably the cheapest of all of them, 2.4 GHz radio system, then please take a look at the SIYI FM30, and I will probably either talk to someone on the Banggood or even talk to the SIYI directly, or maybe even buy one to know what we are really talking about. Because I have Ghost, I had Tracer, I had the FRM302. I'm only missing my personal experience with this thing, and maybe not really a killer feature, but a viable competition for all of them. However, I'm not really saying that you should get one, because if you are an enthusiast of the 2.4 GHz communication and you like to experiment, then yes, try. But if you just want something that is working out of the box and has good support everywhere, then maybe probably not really. But still, it's always an option. And that, my friends, basically covers the four riders of the long-range 2.4 GHz radio system. Maybe there will be something in the future, maybe not, we will see. We'll have to observe how the Tracer evolution look like, because maybe after all the TBS will add the possibility for this thing to go long range, how the Ghost evolution will look like, and if they finally will add at least the telemetry frame for the GPS coordinates, what the FlySky will do with the FRM302, which really probably was the best hardware of the four of there, and what will happen with the SIYI FM30, which is also a super interesting issue to really keep track on. And probably that's really all for today. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next one. Bye bye.